organizers of this event, those who have worked so hard to make sure that there would be turnout, that there would be voices in this room who may not always talk to one another and who will have the opportunity to do so in a little bit. Let me start by saying that the demeaning behavior we've witnessed on this campus this week is simply disturbing and appalling. But enough with the adjectives. I think what by coming here today you are saying is that this is behavior and speech we all seek to get beyond. Having said that, I also want to remind us that Yale is an extreme free speech university. And in this light, I read you the words from the 1975 Woodward Report that are part of official university policy and are reproduced inside the undergraduate regulations. We take a chance, as the First Amendment takes a chance, when we commit ourselves to the idea that the results of free expression are to the general benefit in the long run, however unpleasant they may appear at the time. The validity of such belief cannot be demonstrated conclusively. It's a belief of recent historical development, even within universities, one embodied in American constitutional doctrine, but not widely shared, and denied in theory and practice by much of the world, much of the time. Now, to juxtapose that, we also then need to read what is the university's, and hear what is the university's policy on sexual harassment, for there is also explicit policy on this subject. Sexual harassment is antithetical to academic values and to a work environment free from the fact or appearance of coercion. It's a violation of university policy and may result in serious disciplinary action. Sexual harassment consists of non-consensual sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature on or off campus. Between these two lines of official university policy, the report that was chaired, the committee that chaired and wrote a report in 2008, and it was accepted by my predecessor, Dean Peter Salovey, now provost, was a committee called the Report of the Committee on Sexual Harassment and Assault Prevention Education, or SHAPE, in Yale College. And I think it does try to find this line between what are real free speech issues with expressions of free speech that we may find intolerable at times, and that are probably the only way that, say, the voices across a political divide, whether that was East and West Germany or Israel and Palestine, can find their way to some common ground and some common accommodation, as well as and so we think about this as we read the words of the SHAPE report. So finally, and the committee is actually, this report recommended a number of things, and those of you who are freshmen and sophomores have seen a new kind of freshman orientation, the enhanced share center at the Yale Health Plan, or health, I think is what we're not supposed to call it, is in fact part of the outcome of that report and that of the recommendations that have been accepted. But the final recommendation is greater campus-wide publicity about sexual harassment and assault prevention. And they wrote, much of our discussion was focused on ways to change campus culture so that there is no tolerance for sexual harassment or sexual assault, and so that discussions of the need to establish verbal consent for sexual activity become commonplace. I think that none of those who spoke hateful, reiterative speech on Wednesday night, I was actually trying not to dignify what went on with word chant, but we can call it a chant. I doubt that anyone was imagining that they were forwarding the agenda of education and communication. But look what happened. It's exactly this kind of event that we're having here today is exactly what was called for and what this kind of rupture in our community can do in terms of bringing us together. I also doubt that anyone who spoke those hateful words really recognized the kind of self-abasement that students were putting themselves through. And I think that your presence here today underscores the commitment and belief of Yale students and all your fellow students that I have seen demonstrated in a completely different setting time and again over the past 13 days. That is to say, I want to make a couple of general comments about the Elevate incident in light of this as well. I wasn't present at either incident. I wasn't on the old campus on Wednesday night, and I wasn't on Crown Street on November 2nd. But in the past 13 days, I have seen only the best side of Yale students with respect to that event. It was October, not November. If I said November, then I kept a little bit fast forwarding too much in time. Students have come forward to risk something by saying that something happened that they thought was wrong. They came forward, men and women together, who didn't necessarily know each other under the circumstances of the actions that transpired over the course of an hour. And collectively, they have built a compelling picture that no one of them alone could have done. I have found that the students involved in trying to resolve and bring community have in fact reached far beyond their comfortable social groups and stereotypes. They've built common community that serves to educate, inform, and promulgate an understanding of law and enforcement and the way that civil rights may play out, can play out, and should play out when such an event erupts. That subgroups of the university insist in promotion of views that are counter to law may from time to time be dismissed as ironic. The sort of, gosh, why can't women take a shower? But as long as sexual assault persists, and it does, then there's no humor and irony. There's only debasement, degradation. If we don't seize this moment to learn from one another, then a critical opportunity is going to pass. We've heard inflammatory words that deny agency and rights to women in particular, words that exhort the speaker and his audience to commit a crime. Sexual activity without active and engaged consent is rape. Period. Sexual activity without engaged and active consent is against the law, and needless to say, it is a violation of the regulations of this university. So, what can be the next steps? I think I won't go on too much longer here, except to say that you've come here. You're engaged. You've consented to come here. Thank you very much. You've begun the first steps toward having a conversation about how we really take on something like the Woodward Report, how we really talk across stereotypes, how we say things that are uncomfortable, how we challenge our own beliefs, willing to listen to people who may disagree with us, and to begin to find how we can come to some common cause as students and as young people who will lead not only now the university, but not only the United States, but the world in the next generation. And I thank you for coming today.